How many times in the last week have you, your family, used an ArtScroll book? Chumash, Siddur, Gemara, Machzor, Tanakh, Medrash, Rashi, Ramban, cookbook, Emunah, Tefillah, children's books. How many times? And how many hundreds of thousands of times, maybe millions of times, all over the world have people used ArtScroll books? In two words, what made it possible? Meir Zlotowitz. Good evening. In the early 1920s, a young Rav and his wife came to the United States after 12 years of learning in Lomże, Poland. He quickly gained respect as a Talmud Chacham. He was a Moyel, Mashgiach, and in 1927, he became the Rav of a shul. Torah education was scarce, and Shmir Shabbos was dwindling in the America of the 20s, 30s, 40s. Life was hard for Rabbi Meir Zlotowitz and Rabbi Fruma, but they persevered. Their youngest son was born in 1943. The doctors did not think he would make it. They gave him a very small chance to live. But he fooled them, the way he fooled naysayers all of his life. Meir Yaakov Zlotowitz was a normal kid, went to Yeshivas RJJ, good head, not an athlete. He was a stutterer, but he had a great sense of humor, and he had real good artistic talent. After high school, he went to Mesivta Tiferes Yerushalayim, and he became enamored with the Gadol Hador Reb Moshe Feinstein Zatzal. He became very, very close to him. And after the Rosh Yeshiva's Ptira, he remained very close to the new Rosh Yeshiva, Reb David Feinstein Shlita. If you had told anybody in those days that Meir Zlotowitz would transform the Jewish world, that he would become the Rabbi of Klal Yisrael, they would have said you were crazy. But just as he fooled the doctors, he fooled the pessimists. After he left the yeshiva, he formed ArtScroll Studios. ArtScroll. They made illuminated, decorated, colorful scrolls, brochures, subas, and that was a decent living. And then came 1975. Meir had a very close friend, Meir Fogel. He was a yeshiva Rebbe, a great Rebbe. Everybody loved him. And then, without warning, he died in his sleep. Shocking. And Meir wanted to do something in his memory. He wanted to do something that would be lasting, that was different, that would have an impact. And he came up with this idea of writing a translation and commentary on Megillas Esther and finishing it by the Shloshim, by the end of the Shloshim mourning period. Really an impossible job.
When my father started Megillas Esther, I was 10 years old. I remember coming down every morning. He'd be sitting at his desk with piles of Sfarim, papers, notebooks all over. And when I'd go to sleep, he'd be in the same position.
And we were talking about Megillas Esther. We're talking about putting a color jacket on a Jewish book. Who ever heard of that before?
For 30 days, he kamat didn't eat and kamat didn't sleep. He came to me with a finished product, hand-bound. It was something beautiful.
Everyone was so excited. And what's coming out next from ArtScroll?
When you think about it, especially in the 70s and 80s, it was a massive accomplishment that he made.
He had a feel for beauty, and he had a feel also for eternity. And when he combined those two in ArtScroll, a miracle happened. No one could have imagined the influence that it has had.
And then we hit a dead end. There were so many things that we wanted to do that we felt that we should do, but couldn't do because the funding was not available.
They struggled mightily in the beginning. He would call me on Friday mornings and he says, Judy, I need a few $1,000s to cover my payroll. Could you lend it to me? Always got it back. Yontif was always difficult for him. He was always afraid that there was no income coming in on Yontif. And so he needed to borrow money for Yontif.
This project, B'derech HaTeva, should not have continued. There was no money. They had to borrow money. They had to mortgage their houses. That means Meir, Nosson, Shia. And never did I hear him complain, I think we have to close my office, that's not going to work, like I have for many clients, but they're not doing well. No, he had to go on. It was going to work.
And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent someone to the door. It was, looking back, maybe it was Eliyahu Hanavi.
The reason I got in touch with ArtScroll was that I was enormously grateful for ArtScroll for having opened up Hebrew literature, religious literature, to me for the first time in a way that I could understand. I wanted to do something to thank ArtScroll, and I didn't know whether there was any way to do it, but I decided that I would get in touch with them. And so what I had said to them was I got a better understanding of how money was raised just to finance the enterprise. And I said, you know, that you're not doing this very efficiently. You need a foundation. They said, will you set up the foundation? And I said, sure, I'll be glad to set up the foundation.
And now that the Mesorah Heritage Foundation was created, it enabled so many of my father's dreams to become a reality. So many of the titles that we use on a daily basis were made possible because of the foundation and available at an affordable cost to all of us. My father understood the responsibility of running the foundation with integrity.
Rabbi Zlotowitz insisted all the business functions of the Mesorah Heritage Foundation be done scrupulously well, ethically, and to the highest standards.
And then we were ready for our most ambitious project, 73-volume elucidation of Talmud Bavli.
My father wanted to be involved in a project that would unify the Jewish people.
Jay's father had the vision and the foresight to involve us and to make the commitment, but it's Jay who fulfilled the commitment and carried it all the way through. And there were some difficult times in there where he had to make decisions and go forward, and he stayed true to all of that all the time, and to finish it the way his father would have wanted it done.
And to publish 73 volumes in 15 years, those volumes were impossible.
In this office, working through the night, we could not miss that deadline. He was extremely strict about that. If we were going to miss the deadline, then he would call in more staff, or hire more staff. It was not an option to be late.
Thousands and thousands of people are learning Gemara, even though they may not have had the training when they were youngsters, or they didn't take to it. But now, because of the availability of ArtScroll, they were able to get into Gemara and to finish Masechtas and to be kind of Shas.
The Hatzlacha of Daf Yomi is because there was ArtScroll. That's clear as day. Without ArtScroll, Daf Yomi would not have achieved the popularity that it did.
His life was his children. As my nephew Aaron Morgenstern said at the Levaya in Eretz Yisrael when he spoke, He said, Zaidi, you were so into your children and your grandchildren. When did you have time for ArtScroll?
He was so busy and had so much to accomplish and so many people to deal with and take care of, and yet everyone felt that family was first with him. From the day I got engaged, he treated me as a daughter, and he always said, there's no in-law children in this family, you're all my children. And he carried through with that always.
He couldn't have done it without Ima. She always encouraged him. She was always at his side.
Whenever he would come to Eretz Yisrael, automatically I had to call him within 5 minutes of landing. I'd automatically call him, because otherwise as if he had nothing to do. He'd be like, "What, you didn't call me yet? I've been here already 5 minutes. I've been here 10 minutes. What does that mean you didn't call me?"
He had another family too, the ArtScroll family. Everybody who worked with us in ArtScroll Mesorah, everybody was loyal to him and loved him, because we all knew he was loyal to us and he loved us.
I lost my mother. 8 months later, I lost my father. 8 months later, I lost Meir. I missed the relationship. There was a certain relationship. I was able to go to him and talk to him about anything.
He had great concern for his employees. That was one of the things that I learned from him, how careful you have to be with someone else's livelihood, how you have to worry that he gets paid on time, and how you have to worry that he shouldn't lose his job over some minor thing.
When you walked by that office door and you looked in and he looked up from whenever he was busy, you got a smile like it was a son. And that was just a pick-me-up.
I'm a Baal Tshuva, and my parents weren't religious, my grandparents weren't religious, and to have somebody that's being a religious part of my life, to care about me so much and to be able to appreciate and always, ask how am I doing, how is my day, how am I feeling, it's a very special thing.
He didn't hesitate to critique you, but when he would compliment you, you just felt engulfed by his warmth.
To me, the thing that struck me so much about him was his pursuit of perfection.
Perfection from everyone, and he pushed everyone for perfection because he expected perfection from himself.
He was a perfectionist. If you want excellence, you got to demand excellence.
He's not a person who looked for covet at all, but when you looked at him, you saw this was an Adam HaShalim.
He carried himself a certain way.
Exactly.
And he was a real gentleman. He was a scholar. Whatever he did with great quality, and it had to be right.
He could very easily speak to Rabbi Yosef, to Chaim Kanyossi, and at the same time to a businessman, a banker from a different world, even not a Jewish business. He was a bridge, but he himself was on both sides, not just a bridge. He was on both sides.
He had so many people who considered him to be one of their best friends, and he really was. Not just dedicators and supporters, troubled people, down and out people, people who needed encouragement.
You could go to him with a personal problem, and he would do whatever he could to help you.
And I was once finished preparing a speech, and he said to me, "Am I ready?" And I said, "I'm ready. I'm just debating one thing. Should I not say it?" So he said, "What is it?" So I told him. He looks at me, he says, "Say it, just say it." And I said, "Okay, I will say it." 3 hours later, he comes over to me, he says, "I thought about it a lot. Please, don't say it. Not a good idea." And if I should have said it or not said it is not the point. The point is that this man, who was so busy, who had hundreds and thousands of people that would do anything for 5 minutes, he said the words to me, "I thought about it a lot," which is a simple statement that he loved me. And I think there are hundreds and thousands of people who believe that as well, that he simply loved us and wanted us all to be the best that we possibly could be.
He was a mensch. He was a man that loved me, and I knew it. Right? He made me feel good. He made me feel real.
The way that Rabbi Meir Zlotowitz made me feel was like
that he only talked to me, and it was a personal connection about me and him, and the rest of the world was secondary. And then if you do a little research and you speak to other people, everybody I spoke to said the same thing.
I was Meir Zlotowitz's best friend. Now, someone may take offense to that because they think they were his best friend, but the truth of the matter is so many people thought that Meir Zlotowitz was their best friend.
You know, sometimes you have relationships with people in Meistis and, you know, you're a donor, so they're friendly. But this was a lot more than just that. You know, you felt his friendship.
I guess maybe there was the Rabbi Zlotowitz, the editor of the Talmud, and then there was the mayor that we knew. He was just so easy to talk to be with. His soul was so open and kind that just to have him as a friend always felt so good to talk to him and call him and get his opinion on things, share happy occasions.
Meir was just probably one of the busiest guys that I know. But he always found the time to call me up, to me.
He had all the answers, and every single thing he said came with not just experience, but also das Torah.
He used to tell me, Chanoch, I have no choice. The man did me a favor. I owe him forever. And it's really that midah of Hakoras HaTov was so strong by him.
Anything that I did for him, he was effusive in his thanks and his praise beyond the call of anything that one would normally see. But his Hakoras HaTov was without precedent.
But not only the people that he knew, the people who came in contact with him, what about the hundreds of thousands of people all over the world whose lives have been changed or certainly improved because of what he accomplished?
I don't think it's possible for the Atlanta Scholars Kollel to have done any outreach whatsoever without having the polished, professional appearance of ArtScroll, Svarim, ArtScroll books, charts that ArtScroll has produced in order to provide people something to see, to look out, to draw them in.
And the first thing I would do is look and try to find the ArtScroll sitter before they're all gone.
He made the Torah now that this is part of the life of a person. Today, everybody learns, everybody's learning, and the credit goes to Meir.
Meir Zlotowitz was a visionary person. He saw opportunity, he saw a need, he visualized things that 99% of Klal Yisrael did not visualize. He saw the future.
It's obviously a call that he answered from the Rebbeinu Shalom. Because whatever he touched in it, it was gold.
In our generation, the greatest teacher of the Jewish people, I think beyond anyone's belief, was Rabbi Meir Zlotowitz. He made the Torah available to the English-speaking Jewish world, to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of Jews.
If it weren't for ArtScroll, not thousands, but there's hundreds of thousands of us. The us spans the length and breadth of the Jewish people. We'd never learn what we're learning. We'd never understand the text that we are wrestling with if it wasn't for ArtScroll taking us and holding us by the hand.
It's not enough to have the Gemara, the Chumash, the Mishnayos. You also need inspiration. You also need to want to learn. And he provided that as well.
He made ArtScroll part of the Jewish life, not just from the study side, but from the everyday side.
That in my opinion, he was the biggest Marbet Torah Klal Yisrael ever had. Today, there isn't a city, anywhere you go on the bus, on the train, somebody will be there with an ArtScroll.
Wherever I went, there was the ArtScroll. Where's the ArtScroll? On the ship, ArtScroll. South Africa, ArtScroll.
We're very appreciative that we're able to see the fruits, that wherever we go around the world, wherever we travel, you walk in any synagogue, you see a Schottenstein book there, you see an ArtScroll book there.
The ArtScroll revolution it's all over. I just saw somebody talking about how he grew up and how things changed. He says when he grew up it was BA, before ArtScroll. Like it's a whole new chronological concept, like BA, this is BC, BCE, BA before ArtScroll.
There's all kinds of movements. You know, there's the OU, there's a good, and we're all doing good things. But ArtScroll has reached places that none of us have reached.
Gedaliah says now, very often, he says, I don't know how Dad had time for everything. But he really did.
He was a person I looked up to, and that whoever knew him looked up to.
There's only a few people in my life that I could say really made a big difference, and he's one of them. It really changed my life. There's nothing we could ever do in our lifetime to thank Meir and Nosson for what they did for us and our family.
The sense of loss gets greater as time goes by. I feel the void so often when I think of who I can call when a critical issue comes up, when a serious matter, or when I just need somebody to whom I can complain. He was a sounding board, an advisor, a mentor, and he was somebody who left a void in everyone's life because he could deal with everyone at their level and valued each and every person.
Rabbi, thanks. Yeah, we all loved you. We all love you. We all miss you. And we're going to carry on the work that you do.
For over 46 years, I worked with Meir every single day and many, many nights. A friend who cared for me for every part of my life. He was a teacher. He was a mentor. He was an educator. He taught me. He brought out the best in me. And I miss him dearly.
A normal person would have been full of himself and would have realized that he is the catalyst for all of this. Didn't exist by Meir. I'm God's waiter, and I'm going to do for as long as he wants me to.
And I pray that under Gedaliah's leadership, this will continue, and I have no doubt that it will, because he laid a solid foundation. He has made Torah popular. He has changed the lives of countless people.
Was this maybe the smoothest transition from a founder to a successor I've ever seen in the nonprofit sector.
The key to a successful organization is how it passes down to the next leadership. We have all the confidence in Gedaliah.
He has the skills, the drive, the love, and he's going to do it. With Daniela by his side, I have no fear that ArtScroll will continue and thrive and grow just as Meir would have wanted it, and even more so.
I can't even believe it that there's already a transition. It's so smooth, so seamless.
Gedaliah's inherited his power, his charm, his vision, and Gedaliah is going to pull ArtScroll right through for the next 50 years. And we give him a bracha that he succeeds.
Gedaliah was thrust into this role unexpectedly, and I will say from the moment it happened, he automatically had people surrounding him who were helping him tremendously.
The night my father passed away, I was on the phone with Jay many, many times. He kept on calling and supportive. The friends and supporters of my father have been the most incredible people in my life. His friends became my friends. How many of them pick up the phone, Gedaliah, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do for you? Where do you see that? It's because there was a genuine love. It's a family relationship. When you're just a friend with somebody, so the person passes away and that's it, the friendship is over. But when his friends felt that they were part of the family, family's forever.
For 41 years, in the next office was my friend, my mentor, my inspiration, my Siamese twin. And now, in the next office is my friend, my mentor, my inspiration, my Siamese twin, Gedaliah.